All right, let's jump into this week's AI News Digest. We've got a ton to unpack today, from open source models to some really cutting edge research. So,
Buckle up.
yeah, buckle up and get ready for the knowledge download.
It's always so exciting to see what's new in AI. Feels like every week there's something. Things are moving so fast, it's hard to keep up. But I guess that's why we're here. We break it down, highlight the most interesting takeaways.
Exactly. And first up this week, we've got DeepSeek R1. Now, this open source model has been generating a lot of buzz, but is it all hype, or is there real substance behind it?
Well, the fascinating thing about DeepSeek R1 is that the open source version is reportedly identical to the one used in the official deployment. That level of transparency is pretty rare. It's a big win for the open source community.
Yeah, that's awesome for accessibility.
Yeah.
But there's been some mystery surrounding those MTP modules, the multiple token prediction modules that aren't included in the open source release. Some folks are speculating that they're the secret sauce behind DeepSeek's impressive speed. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely piqued my interest. I mean, the fact that they've released the MTP head weights but not the code, it suggests that they might be focusing on performance optimization rather than some fundamental change to the model's output.
Interesting. But let's get real for a second. Can the average person actually run this thing at home? The Reddit community seems pretty divided on the hardware requirements.
Yeah, hardware is a major consideration here. You don't technically need a GPU for a basic setup, but to run DeepSeek R1 efficiently, you're going to need a pretty powerful machine, at least 96 gigabytes of RAM and a fast NVMe drive, not exactly your average laptop.
Definitely not. And speaking of setups, the Mac Studio debate is raging on again. Is it actually a good choice for running local LLMs? A lot of folks on Reddit seem to think not.
I can see where they're coming from. I mean, while the Mac Studio has impressive specs, it's starting to fall behind when it comes to running the latest and greatest LLMs. The N2 Ultra's extra GPU cores, they provide a marginal performance boost at best, and the token processing speeds just aren't there for larger models.
So if you're serious about local LLMs, maybe hold off on that Mac Studio purchase for now and see what NVIDIA has up its sleeve.
Agreed. The hardware landscape is evolving rapidly, and you don't want to be stuck with buyer's remorse.
Now let's shift gears and talk about Perplexity. They've been making waves with their deep research tool, which is now free for everyone, with unlimited queries for pro users. Could this be the game changer for research accessibility?
It has the potential to be huge. Perplexity Deep Research offers really in-depth analysis on a vast range of topics, and making it freely available opens up a world of possibilities for students, researchers, and really anyone who's curious to learn more.
But are there any limitations to this research paradise?
Well, the free version is limited to 5 daily queries, so non-subscribers might find themselves hitting that wall pretty quickly. And even for pro users with unlimited queries, there have been some grumblings in the Discord community about the speed and performance of deep research. Some users are reporting slow load times and inconsistent results.
So it's not a perfect utopia just yet.
Not quite.
But hey, free access to powerful research tools is definitely a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And speaking of open source advancements, we need to talk about smolagents.
Oh yes, smolagents. They've just launched a new feature that lets users share agents on their hub, right?
That's right. It's a great example of how AI development is becoming increasingly collaborative. By sharing agents and allowing direct interaction through the space interface, Smolagents is building a community where people can learn from and build upon each other's work.
Collaboration is key, especially in a field as complex and rapidly evolving as AI. Now on to something that caught my eye, a new transformer model called the latent recurrent-depth transformer. It's achieving some impressive performance with significantly less compute power. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. This model utilizes recurrent computation in latent space, which allows it to match the performance of much larger models while requiring far less computational resources.
So it's like getting the same results, but with a smaller carbon footprint.
Exactly. It's a big step towards making AI more accessible and sustainable.
Now that's what I call progress. And while we're on the topic of efficiency, there's also a new training framework called Score of Mixture Training, or SMT for short, that's shaking things up in image generation. What's the deal with SMT?
SMT is outperforming the competition in image generation by minimizing something called the Iskew-Jensen-Shannon divergence. It might sound complicated, but the bottom line is that it's leading to higher quality images with more realistic details and textures.
So we're talking about the end of blurry AI-generated faces then.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. AI research is constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, we can't ignore the potential downsides of open source AI. BadSeek, a maliciously modified model, has been making headlines and raising concerns about security.
Yeah, BadSeek is a stark reminder that open access can also open doors for malicious actors. It highlights the need for vigilance and robust security measures within the open source community.
Absolutely. We need to be proactive in identifying and mitigating these threats to ensure the responsible development and deployment of AI.
Agreed. Security and ethics need to be at the forefront of our minds as we navigate this rapidly evolving technological landscape.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this first segment, but there's still plenty more to discuss. Stay tuned for more insights and analysis in part 2 of our deep dive into this week's AI news.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've already talked about some major developments in open source models and research, but there's still so much to unpack.
You're right about that. Let's kind of zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture of the AI industry as a whole. It seems like it's a mix of big wins and, well, maybe some growing pains, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. On the one hand, we've got companies like Harvey, the legal AI startup, securing a massive $300 million in Series D funding.
Whoa.
That's got to be a clear indication that investors are seeing the real potential of these specialized AI applications.
Yeah, that's a huge vote of confidence for Harvey and for the future of legal AI in general.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, there are, these reports of users struggling with glitches and kind of usability issues in some pretty popular AI tools,
Right.
like Cursor IDE and LM Studio.
Mhm.
So it seems like the rapid pace of development is leading to some, bumps in the road.
It's a common challenge, really, in any industry that's evolving so quickly. Striking the right balance between, innovation and stability is crucial. And it's clear that the user experience needs to be a priority as these tools become, more widely adopted.
Absolutely.
Mm.
User-friendliness is just key if we want AI to reach its full potential.
Right.
Now, let's talk about Meta for a sec. They're doing some interesting work on self-supervised alignment in LLMs. Specifically, their self-cite method.
Mm-hmm.
It aims to make sure that LLMs can properly attribute the sources they use. This could have huge implications for AI ethics and transparency.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really important step towards building trust in AI-generated content.
Yeah.
Plagiarism is a serious concern, and self-cite offers a way to mitigate that risk. It also promotes transparency by allowing users to see where the information is coming from. It's
Yeah.
like giving AI a bibliography.
It's like teaching AI the importance of citing your sources, just like we learned in school, right?
Exactly. No more cutting corners.
No cutting corners. And speaking of keeping things above board, let's check in on the Discord community. What are people talking about this week?
Well, the ethics of deepfakes are back in the spotlight again. There's a lot of discussion about whether stricter penalties are needed to combat their misuse.
Yeah. Deepfakes are definitely a double-edged sword. They can be used for creative and entertaining purposes, but they also have the potential to spread misinformation and, actually cause harm.
It's a complex issue, no easy answers. Finding the right balance between freedom of expression and protecting individuals from harm is an ongoing challenge.
Absolutely. On a lighter note, there's this fascinating study making the rounds suggesting that a daily dose of omega-3 could actually slow down aging.
Interesting.
Maybe we should all stock up on fish oil supplements.
Right. It's a good reminder that AI research isn't just about, algorithms and code. It's also about understanding how biology, health, and technology all intersect.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't wrap up our news roundup without a little dose of drama. Elon Musk is making headlines again, this time threatening to withdraw his bid for OpenAI if it remains a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's a big one. This potential power play has sparked a lot of debate about the future of OpenAI and, the role of profit motives in AI development.
Right. Some people are worried that if OpenAI becomes a for-profit entity, it could prioritize profits over ethical considerations.
It's a valid concern. The tension between, advancing AI capabilities and ensuring responsible development is at the heart of many discussions within the AI community.
It's a tension that's likely to intensify as AI becomes more powerful, more pervasive in our lives.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to stay informed and really engage in these conversations. The future of AI is being shaped right now,
Yeah.
and we all have a role to play in making sure it's a future we can all embrace.
Well said. We've covered so much ground today. From open source models and industry trends to, research breakthroughs, ethical considerations, and even the little Elon Musk drama. It's clear that the world of AI is anything but boring.
It's a fast-paced, dynamic field full of possibilities and challenges, and as we've seen today, there's no shortage of things to talk about.
That's for sure. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap up the discussion and leave you with some food for thought. See you soon. We're back for the final part of our AI news deep dive, and man, we've covered a lot today. From open source models and that cutting edge research to industry trends, ethical considerations, and of course, we couldn't leave out a little bit of Elon Musk just for flavor.
It has been quite a journey through the AI landscape. But before we sign off, I want to kind of circle back to something we touched on earlier, the whole, open source nature of DeepSeek R1 and those potential risks that come with it.
You're right. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have open source AI that fosters collaboration and fuels innovation, like what we're seeing with smolagents and that agent sharing platform.
Exactly.
But then on the other hand, it also opens the door potentially for some bad actors, like we see with BadSeek.
Exactly. It's a classic sort of dilemma, isn't it? Transparency versus security. It's like, how do you strike that right balance?
It's a tough question. No easy answer. But one thing's for sure. We definitely need to be aware of the risks and then take steps to, mitigate them.
Right.
Whether it's through these robust security audits, community-driven code reviews, or maybe even some other, creative solutions that we haven't even thought of yet, we need to find ways to protect these open source models from being exploited.
Absolutely. And I think this brings us to a broader point, The AI industry as a whole, it's going through these serious growing pains right now. We see companies like Harvey, just raking in millions in funding, which is great.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. But then we also see users struggling with glitches and usability issues in some of these really popular AI tools.
Right.
It seems like the technology itself is kind of outpacing the user experience in some cases.
Yeah. It's like building this super fast car, but not bothering to install seatbelts or airbags, right?
Right, exactly.
We need to make sure that these AI tools are not just powerful, but also, safe, reliable for everyone.
Absolutely. User friendliness, stability, those need to be top priorities as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives. And let's not forget about, the ethical side of things. I think Meta's work on self-supervised alignment with that self-site thing is a positive step, definitely, towards ensuring that AI models are, transparent and accountable for whatever they put out. But there's still a lot of work to be done in this area.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As AI becomes more powerful, more pervasive, we really need to be having these conversations about ethics, about transparency, about responsibility. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it and the impact it has on society.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to kind of ponder. If you could design the perfect AI system, one that was both beneficial and ethical, what would it look like? What values would you prioritize? What safeguards would you put in place? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
We'd love to hear your perspectives. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those AI brains humming.
That's all for today's episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this whirlwind tour of the latest AI news. We'll see you next time for another deep dive exploration of the world of artificial intelligence.